was my native state of Texas, so I'm more potato than Texan, I guess. And I believe that law enforcement is a very important part of our community, especially in the times that we're in now. And so I am running for Bonner County Sheriff, and appreciate any support you might throw my way. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having me and letting me speak.
Okay, and I'll open it up. If anybody has any questions for Mr. Bradshaw, we're willing to answer a couple of questions.
Yep.
Okay, Tom.
So, the Congress of the United States is attempting to figure out how the executive branch, specifically the FBI and the DOJ, have been weaponized against weak people. And Jim Jordan is exhausted in trying to get information out of the FBI. Do you think it's important that the Chief Sheriff of the entire United States should be forthcoming with information?
Absolutely.
Do you think it's equally important that the Sheriff of this county should be forthcoming with information?
Absolutely.
Will you tell us how the Information Technology Department, the servers, are managed in the office of the Sheriff and the prosecutor, please, sir?
The IT department covers Sheriff's Office, Prosecutor's Office, and courts. Then there's an IT for all the rest of the county business. We had a specialist come in. He analyzed our system looking for vulnerabilities. He said 2 systems is double the risk. With the budget constraints that we have, if you have a firewall for this side of the Republican committee and you have a firewall for this side, you're paying 2 licenses. These licenses are over $100,000 a piece a year. Now you have 2 vulnerable firewalls, but when you have one IT department, you can now buy a higher grade of firewall versus 2 pretty good ones. It's always better to have an excellent one versus 2 pretty good ones. Because, as y'all know, if your computer messes up, you find a teenager, he helps you fix it. I mean, that's just the world we're in now. Technology has got so weird. But, so, we are going to one IT system. Sheriff and courts will still be siloed. The rest of the county would be siloed, but it's all in one cloud, all inclusive. And that will cut the expenses by half in your license and fees and double the protection against hacks. Actually had, Commissioner Ahmed had the numbers this last week of how many hacks from overseas, Russia and China, in a day, and how many local attempted hacks into our system. It was in the thousands per day. Coeur d'Alene has been hit. Post Falls has been hit. If we get hacked and ransomed, we don't have it in the budget to pay a ransom, and it shuts the whole entire county down. And so this is something that's very, very important in business and especially government. Government tends to be a big target because they know they have an insurance policy. And so that protection is absolutely necessary and should be a priority. That helps?
Sort of.
Let's move on.
Now, I'm not an IT guy.
Yeah,
Don't ask me about how the computer works.
We'll keep this broad. Hang on if you got a new thought. Let's go to Rod.
Yeah, good to meet you, sir. My question is actual in reducing crime in San Antonio. My wife and I have a business downtown. There's a huge shoplifting issue and other things.
It's horrendous.
Yeah. So my question is, my opinion is that there's not a lot of accountability for deputies and things, and there's not a lot of convictions for things like that. The police seem very good at catching people going 5 or 10 miles over the speed limit, but not very good at actually reducing crime, walking around and things like that.
are now at 52,000 plus, and at any given shift, we have 3 to 4 deputies on patrol. The budget in '88 versus the budget now is horrendously different. It has exponentially grown every year, and there is tons of waste, and I can show you where that waste is. Just because a person is a good law enforcement does not mean he's a good manager. They're not the same. And I think we've got excellent deputies. I think we've got excellent law enforcement. We don't have them in the right place. If you look at the current management structure, organizational chart, if you were to take a picture of a pyramid and turn it upside down, that's our SO. We've got 4 deputies on patrol, and we've got 20 people to 30 people sitting over at the jailhouse.
Thank you.
The people in jail don't need to be protected. They're not going anywhere. You do. So there's ways to fix that. There's easy, efficient ways to fix that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Rager.
Yeah, let's actually go to
Okay.
Kristen and then we'll pop back this way.
So during COVID, all right. During COVID, there were edicts, mandates that were being passed and actually enforced by law enforcement. And there were, for example, somebody was taken into custody and arrested for entering a courthouse or being in a courthouse without a mask on. And there was never any law that said that you had to wear a mask. We all know that, especially now. My question for you is, if there happens to be another round of this, which there very well could be, where there are certain edicts pressed upon the people that are not lawful, how would you protect the individual rights of the people in those cases?
Well, I was here when COVID started, and the current board at that time told Panhandle Health District and the state and the feds, take a hike. Bonner County is open for business. We will not close our churches. We will not close our businesses while Walmart and Home Depot stay open because you can't catch COVID there. Does that make sense? No, it didn't. And we never adopted the mask mandate. We told Panhandle. In fact, I went to the meeting. Me and Colton Boyle. They weren't going to let anybody in. And I said, what about a sitting commissioner? And they said, oh, well, that's different. So we went into the meeting, and they passed their mask mandate. And understand this, Panhandle Health District are not legislators. They are not lawmakers. And I told them, well, bless your heart. You passed a rule. I'll tell you, just like Thomas Jefferson told Congress when they passed the stupid law. Let's see you enforce it. Because Bonner County is open. We fought for the people, and as sheriff, I would do the same thing. Nobody will be arrested in Bonner County for not wearing a mask.
Can I have a little follow-up to that?
Absolutely.
So what if they have a warrant from another county in Idaho?
A warrant is a warrant, and we have no jurisdiction over what took place in that county. I would have to look at the legitimacy of the warrant as to whether or not we extradite to that county. That would be a case-by-case basis, I'm sure, and I would have to run that by the prosecutor.
And one more follow-up.
Because a court issues the warrant.
Okay, one more follow-up. So if the Bonner County Courthouse refused to allow people into the courthouse without wearing a mask, what would you do about that?
If the judge has the bailiff arrest them, the sheriff has no option but to admit them into the jail. There's a state statute that says the sheriff must admit into the jail anyone presented by any competent agency, be it Sandpoint Police, Ponderay, FBI, ATF, U.S. Marshal Service. If they arrest them in Bonner County, he must admit them into the jail. The sheriff is not the judge, jury. He is only law enforcement. And his first duty bring you to the jail, he has to admit you. He doesn't get to choose, well, that's a bad arrest or a good arrest. He's not the judge. And we actually saw that happen recently.
Okay, Cornell.
Just basically a point of information, while I would encourage the taking care of the deputies, increasing deputies on the ground. They don't have jurisdiction in the city, so it wouldn't help the city.
Right. We have an MOU where we assist the city and Ponderay and joint counties and states, Montana and Washington. And they're all law enforcement, so we all work together. But yes, anything that the sheriff's office does within city limits should be in conjunction with the local police chief and the joint staff.
Yes, Dimitri.
Mr. Bradshaw, I have a question for you. You made a statement that EMS one building or multi-use building does not cost taxpayers any money. However, my understanding is that 50% of the budget came from the county, basically, whatever, and the other 50 came from EMS budget. Is that correct?
No.
So,
ARPA money was available to use for specific things. We could use it for payroll and salaries. But if you were going to dictate it for that, you don't want to do anything that's repetitious on something that's not going to be available the following year. However, the ARPA money was available to use for salaries. So we took the levied money that was for salaries, built the building, replaced the levied money with the ARPA money, and it was your federal and state dollars coming back to you. And the levy will pay the salaries this year.
okay, so basically,
The building's paid for.
so all some $1 million were basically
$7.5 million, and it should come in under budget the way it's looking. Which would be way cool. We wouldn't have to touch the contingency.
Thomas.
Yeah, actually, follow-up question. Others have been allowed follow-up questions. Again, my focus is on IT. And you gave a good explanation as to how we have to ensure.
Let's on committee, let's just have a practice stuff, because I've noticed it. Let's stand up so that people at the back of the room. Let's do that for everybody.
Okay, so the issue is IT. This is a very nuanced issue, and I think it's a very important issue because it has to do with flow of information. And I hope everyone in this room understands that whoever controls the flow of information can control your mind. We're seeing this with the weaponization of the federal government. Okay? That applies locally also. Just know that we're not in a shell here. Okay, so let's go to the flow of information. You used the term in your explanation having to do with shoring up cybersecurity, that the sheriff and the prosecutor have their silo. They have their own little domain.
Right.
All right, so we could go down a rabbit hole, a long rabbit hole on this, but I would like just to briefly comment on, does it appear that the sheriff and the prosecutor are looking to create walls around their silo, and that some of the friction having to do with enhancing cybersecurity really underscores how they want that wall to be higher and nobody can gain access to it. Not even a cybersecurity expert who would be a super user. And a corollary question, it's rumored that someone in the prosecutor's office has actually requested super user status of the entire county IT system. So those are two questions.
Well, being that's going to be an executive session this week in the meeting, I'll leave that one alone.
You mean the second one?
But there's a lot of misinformation on that, and a lot of it's coming from this side of the table not willing to have a conversation with this side of the table. We think you're doing this, we're not talking. Nothing's going to get done from there. Nothing.
So there
If
is
we won't talk,
censorship.
we're not going to solve anything. But
There is censorship.
yeah,
That's right.
something
Everyone at this table needs to know something.
So, and, you know, SO, victim advocate, court, all that is not readily public information. They've got files on everybody, they've got people's information that nobody has business access to. That's why it's siloed in certain things. To an IT guy, he's going to think I'm an idiot, because I don't understand. You know, they say in the cloud, but it's not actually a cloud. It's actually a vault, which is not a vault. But so yeah, computer language is pretty strange. But
Dimitri.
One more question, Mr. Bradshaw. As a commissioner, you have had a full authority over budget in the whole county. You had full authority over sheriff's budget.
to an extent.
And you have said right now that you have seen a lot of waste and there's a ways to fix it. Why haven't you addressed it in the previous years? But you're saying you're going to address it
We've
now.
addressed it for 6
Moving.
years.
But you have
Mr.
approved the
Thank you.
budget. So that's
That's
your question.
something that comes around periodically throughout the year, and then once again, a big head-on every year. So, yeah,
But you
it's
have the
been
power to say,
addressed.
no, change this. And, I'm sorry, I sit down. But you have the power to say, no, Mr. Sheriff, please change this, and this. This is what we'd like to see, and then we'll approve it. But it appears to that you guys have not done it. But you're now saying you have this.
Well, I invite
plan,
you to
so-
sit through June, July, August, September with us, head to October 1st. You'll understand it a little better.
Okay, we'll go, keeping it tight, we'll go with one more question. Darla in the back.
So there's a lot of talk over the years about a concept called the thin blue line.
About what?
The thin blue line. So it, as I understand it, that means that regardless of what happens, law enforcement always takes up for law enforcement. And they help silo whatever and buffer to the public what happens. So there have been a lot of things in this county that have happened that have impacted us and our rights as citizens. We could go to Craig Johnson. Craig Johnson had his gate busted down and he was killed. And the county recently had to pay out like $250,000 to his widow because he was done wrong. So and there was a lot of hidden things about that. I'd like to know your stance on protecting us as individuals. If things are done bad and you know it in your department, are you going to stand for the citizen? Or are you going to be the hold the line and we ain't telling them what's going on?
I will stand on the side of what is right every time, regardless of who is on either side of that.
So you will truly be a constitutional sheriff and uphold our rights.
100%.
Thank you.
And I think I've exemplified that over the last 5.5 years.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you all for listening. And it'll be fun.
Okay, moving in our agenda to item number 8, elected representatives. We only have a few here today. I see Luke